Stay tuned for a meeting of the Calabasas City Council. The meeting will be broadcast using Zoom and the City CTV Channel 3. Members of the City Council may teleconference into the meeting without noticing or posting an agenda at their teleconference location. Besides the live TV and Zoom broadcast, the live stream of the meeting may be viewed online at cityofcalabasas.com/CTV Live. If you want to provide public comment, press Raise Hand if you're using Zoom or *9 if you're joining by phone. Just unmute yourself by pressing *6. Say your name and the city you live in. You'll be allowed 3 minutes to address the City Council regarding any items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Council. If the power or internet goes out lasting more than 15 minutes, or if there's some event that prevents the Council from meeting or prevents you from providing public comment, then the meeting will be adjourned. Any items noticed as public hearings will be rescheduled to the next regular meeting of the City Council. Any other agenda items the Council has not taken action on will be placed on a future agenda. Now, a meeting of the Calabasas City Council.
Good evening and welcome to the September 28th, 2022 meeting of the Calabasas City Council. I'm Mary Sue Maurer, the mayor of the city, and I am joined by the mayor pro tem, David Shapiro, council members Peter Kraut, James Bazagian, and Alicia Weintraub, as well as staff. And this evening, our Pledge of Allegiance will be held by Mari Hernandez, our city clerk.
Good evening. Please join me in saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, we met in closed session. Actually, let me start with approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve in a second?
So moved.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Councilmember Bazagian.
Aye.
Councilmember Kraut.
Aye.
Councilmember Weintraub.
Aye.
Mayor pro tem Shapiro.
Yes.
Mayor Maurer.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, now let's go to our city attorney. We met in closed session. Is there anything to report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The City Council met in closed session to consider the first of the 4 items listed on the agenda. Conference with real property negotiator regarding property at 27040 Malibu Hills Road, provided direction to staff and council and continued that item. And the other 3 items, conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation, THNC Canyon Oaks LLC versus Calabasas, conference with legal counsel regarding initiation of litigation, and public employee performance evaluation of the city manager, all continued until after the open session meeting. No reportable action is expected on any items. If any reportable action is taken, it will be reported out at the beginning of the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. Madam Clerk, do we have our presenters from the fire department with us yet?
No, Madam Mayor, they're not in yet.
All right, then we'll proceed with council comments. I'll start with Mayor pro tem Shapiro. Any comments?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Yes, I wanted to congratulate the Mayor's Youth Council and yourself, Madam Mayor, and Councilmember Weintraub on a great voter registration information night held last week, which I know is going to be streaming on our own CTV or online. It was very well presented and we all learned a lot. I also want to mention that we just completed our 9th annual Calabasas Film Festival last week, in spite of some really big curveball of having the film location for the films closed a few nights before the festival. They did a tremendous job, and congratulations to Kelly and Nicole Fries, and of course their dad Joe and everyone else who volunteered. It was really a wonderful event, wonderful week, and we look forward to hearing from them and hopefully bigger and better things in next year. And last but not least, I want to wish all those who are celebrating a happy, healthy New Year's and a good Yom Kippur and Yontiv coming up. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilmember Bazagian.
Just want to remind everybody that our Calabasas Pumpkin Festival is just around the corner, October 16th. It's a one-day only this year from 10 to 5 at Juan de Anza Park.
Councilmember Crowe.
Thank you. I want to let everybody know that the Greater Mulwood Homeowners Association is hosting a candidate forum for our city council candidates tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And if you're interested in that, there's a link to be found at greatermulwood.org. And I also wanted to take a moment to congratulate Lupin Hill on their 50th anniversary, celebrating this Friday at 8 a.m.
Thank you. Councilmember Weintraub.
I just wanted to thank our first responders for acting so quickly with the fire this past Saturday. We are so grateful that there was no wind and that this fire was able to be contained. And it was not only LA County firefighters from our stations, but we had firefighters from the Los Angeles Fire Department. I just wanted to extend my gratitude for everyone and our Lost Hills Sheriff's deputies who were on site, and we're lucky that the fire was able to be contained. And just this fire just shows that fires can break out at any time, and we all need to be prepared should there be a different outcome. But just to pay attention to city news alerts, social media, and just really appreciative for our first responders. And just lastly, I know Peter touched upon the election, but just Mari, there's still time to register to vote, or where are we in terms of dates?
The last date to register to vote for this election is October 24th.
Perfect.
And,
So still time to register to vote.
yes, there's plenty of time. And we have information on our website on the election page, and any other information that the public may require, they can contact me directly.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just want to thank our city clerk, Mari Hernandez, on the preparation she did for the Mayor's Youth Council review of the ballot, and also thank my colleague, Alicia Weintraub, for partnering this time. And of course, James, for laying the foundation for that program. It's really important to get the youth involved and understand the ballot and what their options are, and why the different officers serve different lengths of time. And it was just really interesting. I also want to thank the first responders and acknowledge the work of the incarcerated firefighters. There were buses of them there as well. And many of them, after serving their time as firefighters, go on to have careers, successful careers as hand crews, wildland hand crew firefighters. So thank you. And with that, Madam Clerk, you'll let me know when they arrive.
Chief Smith is in, so we can make it, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Welcome, Chief Smith. And I'm sure you were busy this past weekend.
Okay, there he is. He's turning on his camera.
All right. Well, thank you for the kind words on the fire. My camera's not working for some reason, so you'll have to remember what I look like. I'd like to thank the city of Calabasas for the support. And I'll touch on the fire that we just had. So it went for a total of 8.6 acres, and you're correct. It is in an area which is our mutual threat zone. So we get an initial attack response from of course, your Los Angeles County Fire Department, but also the City of Los Angeles Fire Department. So we work in coordination with them. We share resources and have those mutual threat zones throughout Los Angeles County. And that was within one of those mutual threat zones. So you get a very robust response on that. And so the coordination with that fire went really well. And your firefighters really put in a lot of effort to keep that fire small, because it did have potential. The potential, we can't identify it as the same as some of the Santa Ana wind driven type of fires, but you can categorize it as it was a hot summer / transition into fall day. So we have vulnerabilities for dry grass to promulgate fire to start and spread. And just remember that that ember cast on those type of fires can grow a half mile ahead of them by that ember cast that goes into other fuel beds or around homes and other vegetation that's susceptible to burn. And so with that being said, we have our augmented staffing plan in place. And what does that mean? That means that we have an augmented air force. We had our super scoopers that were on that. We had our Chinook helicopter that's on contract with Southern California Edison. So we had a very robust air assault on that fire, coordinating with those ground crews. One thing that was challenging about that fire is it didn't start next to the road. Your firefighters had to make a very tactical decision on how to get to the heel of the fire, which is the point of origin where the fire started. And there was a lot of unburned vegetation in between where the resources could get at the end of, or in the cul-de-sac off of Ventura. And they really had to tactically think about how to get into this fire to combat it. And so that's done in coordination with those ground crews, because they put themselves in a significant position of vulnerability to attack those when they have unburned fuel between them and the fire. And that has to be coordinated with your air resources, so we can get a foothold on it, if you will, and anchor the fire to start working the flanks. We did get air tankers that did come in. We get an automatic response from getting aircraft, which is our fixed wing aircraft, that we will get if it's within a half mile of state lands, and that fire was in the half mile. So that also augmented that air response with the air tankers that did drop the FOS check on the fire. And I do know that we did have some of the FOS check that did impact some of the streets. It did put some of the overspray, if you will, onto the homes. And the reason that that happens, because it's tough on the drift and how those aircraft come in, but also that helps solve the significant problem for, as I talked earlier, that spotting at a half mile. And if you look at where that fire was, you had just downwind from that, a lot of open land. And so that's why we combat these fires, to keep them as small as possible, so we don't have those other challenges that can create a fire to pose different set of containment priorities or life safety priorities that we had. We also did not do an evacuation order. We did have people that did self-evacuate, which is great, but we had a lot of resources in there. I called for a shelter in place, meaning that we wanted the homeowners to stay there because of the big streets that we have there, the big water, the good defendable space that the homeowners were in compliance with. So we are highly appreciative of that. I'm very thankful to the residents and the support that we got by after the fire, when your firefighters were pulling their hose and mopping up and still dealing with the emergency. I highly appreciate all the one-on-one contact that we had with the residents in Calabasas. That is, we don't get that a lot, and it's not because it's not thought about. It's just that there's so many people that were in that area that time of day. It really meant a lot to us with the interaction that we had with the community. So I really thank you for that in Calabasas. With that being said, we do a daily risk analysis every day to look at our probabilities to how fires will start and spread. So if we need to tactically move resources and augment our ground resources or even our air resources, we look at that every day. So we have a fire danger risk analysis. So that's something that goes on every day. And if there's a high risk day, we will communicate that to the city, and Megan Courier will handle that messaging so everybody's informed. I heard information on how notifications are made. Just remember, with notifications, there's a lot of rogue information that goes on there. Make sure that it's valid, because we did have to unwrangle quite a bit of false messaging from people posting different things that they interpreted or what they saw that was going on. and a lot of it was not factual. And so that can lead to a lot of anxiety for folks, and we don't want that to happen. So Megan Courier, Community Service Liaison, will send the messaging in a timely fashion based upon valid information. And I know I've talked a lot. I appreciate the time. Is there any questions for me?
Well, let me, I'll get to the council questions. I do want to thank you for that very interesting and helpful lesson in not only fire behavior, but the air response that came for this fire, and the mutual, did you say the mutual threat air zone?
Yeah, it's a mutual threat zone. So
Yeah.
you get an initial attack zone, a mutual threat zone.
I think
Correct.
it's important for the public to hear the inner workings, and most importantly, those stray embers that can land on their patio furniture, or if their home isn't hardened, could really be the catalyst for fuel. So thank you for that. And I'll go to Councilmember Weintraub.
Thank you again. Just very grateful to you and all the first responders for how this was dealt with. I just wanted to know, I can't remember if it was LA County Fire or LAFD who posted online about drones and how they can impact the firefighting efforts. And I was just wondering if you could address that.
I can address it. That's a great question, because we did have a drone sighting on that fire.
Right. So I saw that online about
That's correct. And that was announced. I announced that within the command structure that we had in place. And when that happens, all aerial firefighting stops, because we have to move all of our aircraft out of that airspace that impacts our firefighting mission because of people flying drones. And it's becoming more common, and it is very challenging for us. And we do have technologies that are not 100%, that do have drone detection capabilities. But that is risky business for our aviators.
Okay. Any other questions, Councilmember Weintraub? Mayor Pro Tem Shapiro.
Thank you. That just to follow up on that, and thank you for being here in the great report. Thank you for all of your great work and everybody out there who did such a fine job. What can we as a city do to assist in getting to individuals to tell them, to help them, so as not to fly drones on or near or at a fire location?
So my suggestion would be is we get together with Megan Courier and we craft an information bulletin that you could post on your community website. And because like I said, it is more common. So I truly feel that people just don't know the consequence. They're doing it with good intention. They want to get good footage, no different than they want to do something in an outdoor activity. So I feel that we should get together and formulate a message that we could then have it to where it is viewed through social media, through respected sites.
Fantastic. And I do want to say I watched from a distance. I didn't want to get close, but certainly was so impressed. It was like a well-orchestrated music piece. I mean, you had two going and filling up over in Westlake and coming. You had two up in, I presume, the Topanga area, and then one, I believe, at our lake, and just going in perfect tandem, except for that one incident with the drone, and then the DC-10 coming to stop the forward progress and protect structures. So thank you, and thank everyone. It's what a difference when certainly we don't have those horrific winds, and there's a different way of attacking fires now. So thank you.
Thank you for the support.
Councilmember Basajian.
Forgive me if I missed it, but I saw written up by our communications director the cause of the fire being human interaction, but I wondered if you had any more information on that. What is that an arson, or is that an accident?
Well, I can tell you first and foremost, there was no homeless encampment where it started. We could tell that there was activity within the area, but just to make it clear, there was not anybody living no fortress built or any cardboard box houses or anything. So it was in well deep within the canyon that would not be visible from the freeway system. And so, yes, it was transient nature, meaning that somebody traveled through there, and how it started. We have it under investigation. But at this time, we haven't found anything. And I'll give you an example. We did not find a cigarette butt or a cigar there. We haven't found what the potential cause is. But I can tell you once again, there was no homeless encampment in that area.
And we don't know whether it was deliberate or just an accident.
We do not know.
Okay. If you just let us know if your arson investigation does reveal any additional information, we'd appreciate it.
I sure will do that. And I can say that where it started, it's not like some of the other things that we can detect on activity, because there's no, and I'll just say generically, Nest or Ring cameras close by that we can get anything off any occupancies to look. So it would have to be in most cases, somebody actually saw somebody and could give a description, and we could work with that, but we have no description at this point in time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Kraut.
Yeah, I too want to say thank you to you and the entire fire department for all of your efforts. I did have a question. You did mention in two separate statements, one, that there was some misinformation, and two, that there was a lot of coordinated efforts between the fire departments. Could you tell us for our community, what is the one location we should be going to for up-to-date, current, and correct information?
Yeah, so depending on the level of the emergency, there could be notifications that are mass notifications that are done and going to be captured with mass notification through Office of Emergency Management. There's also those local notifications that are going to be done to the city managers to get to the staff of the cities. And then once that information is delivered, you have the ability to give updates on your specific Calabasas website, if you will. Also, Division 7, Los Angeles County Fire Department Division 7 has a web page as well. We also have our public information office that has a website for the fire department. So I don't want to minimize the fire, but that fire was, for lack of better words, rather routine for us. Did it have potentials? The answer is yes. Can it be very complex even though it's small? The answer is yes. So the way that the information pipeline goes is that the messaging that's going to go out is going to come from the incident commander to the public information office that's distributed to the cities, that you can then push out to your social media sites.
Okay. I just have one follow-up question. I don't know, Chief, if this is for you or for our city manager, but do drones need to be registered? Could we get a list of registered drones in our community?
You have it incoming.
I don't know that answer.
Okay.
I don't know that answer on how they're registered. That is not my subject matter expertise. Okay. Registering of drones. I can find that information out. That is for sure.
I'm sure. Matt, did you have an answer?
Yeah, actually, I've taken a little bit of a look into that, Mayor and Council. The FCC requires registration of drones that weigh more than about half a pound. So your small consumer drones do not need registration. Any larger drone does require registration through the FAA, and we could certainly reach out to the FAA for information on registered drones, but recognize the smaller consumer drones are not required to be registered.
Would it be within our ability, Matt, to mail them each a reminder about the restrictions in airspace when there's a fire or
if we can get the information from the feds, we can certainly do that. I'm not sure if the FAA releases that information, but we could look into that for sure.
Okay, thank you. And Councilmember Weintraub, did your hand?
No, I just want to add, we have an ordinance on drones that specifies their use and where they're allowed to fly and things like that. So I think we have some of this already embedded in that ordinance.
Yeah, it's getting those addresses. Yeah.
Right.
Right, and our drone ordinance is chapter 910 of the municipal code. And in general, it prohibits any unsafe operations, which would
Right.
include any interference with firefighting or other emergency facilities. So if someone does use a drone, that violates state law and our own code and can be subject to code enforcement or fine or citation.
You know, I'll put something in my weekly letter about that.
And it might make sense, if I could recommend one further step. We work with the communication staff to send out that reminder, both to the registered drones in the city, if we can get that list, and through the other communications channels we have.
Great. All right, well, I don't know if Megan made it here, but she's always so helpful to us as well. Chief Smith, please let her know that.
I will. She's in another meeting right now. We're splitting and conquering.
Right. Well, thank you again and be safe out there.
Well, thank you for the support once again. Appreciate it.
Okay, all right, so we are going on now to oral comment, I believe. Yes, oral comment. Madam Clerk, is there anyone that wishes to speak this evening?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have Andrew Thomas.
Right, Andrew, Mr. Thomas, welcome, representing Southern California Edison. Please proceed.
Andrew, can you hear us? He's not muted.
We're not hearing anything at this end.
Andrew, do you want to log off and come back in? We cannot hear you. And I don't know if you can hear us.
It seems like they have some technical difficulty. Now it's sitting.
Let's see. I'm asking him to unmute. Andrew, can you hear us? No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, why don't we move on to consent items and give him a chance to see if he can, oh, he signed off, so maybe he'll sign back on. All right, we have consent items 1 through 3. Does anyone wish to remove any of the items for discussion? Mayor Pro Tem Shapiro.
Just for a brief comment, item number 2, please.
Item number 2, anybody else? Any item? All right. What is your comment? And maybe we'll take the next, all 3 items together.
Perfect. Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge this. I'm very proud of our city that we have had and recognize October as bullying awareness prevention month in our city to attempt to curb patterns of behavior from young to old, doesn't matter what age. And those patterns of behavior and bullying can lead to much more serious issues in the long run. So I'm very proud of our city that we take a stance, and I hope everyone in the city will work to be kinder and more helpful to each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve items, consent items 1 through 3?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Bustajan,
Aye.
Councilmember Kraut,
Aye.
Councilmember Weintraub,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Shapiro,
Yes.
Mayor Mauer.
Yes. Madam Clerk, are we?
I don't see Mr. Thomas in, but if there's any other person who wishes to speak, please raise your hand. Okay, we have Mark Camacho. Mr. Camacho, please state your name and the city you live in. You'll have 3 minutes to address the council. Oh, what happened? Here we go again.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Should I be on camera?
No.
Okay. So good evening. My name is Dr. Mark Camacho, and I'm a Malibu Canyon resident. I'm here to bring awareness regarding a significant concern within our neighborhood, specifically the surrounding community around Lupin Hill Elementary School, as we continue to face fire safety, health, and traffic issues due to Agoura Pony baseball games. That's APB, referred to as APB. So the increase in number and frequency of games during both the fall and spring seasons to include daily practices impose an undue burden on our community. For instance, traffic congestion, noise, trash, most importantly, kind of coincidentally, fire safety due to the illegal parking and the inability of Lupin Hill parking lot to accommodate the influx of vehicles to support games across 5 fields. So just imagine that's players, families, friends for 5 concurrent games all day on one street. So especially during the spring baseball season, that's all weekend and practices 7 days a week. They typically park in front of our driveways, park in front of fire hydrants, and also around Lupin Hill, they park on the fire lanes and other types of parking. And as you know, Adamore Road, across a street from Lupin Hill, we were directly impacted by the Woolsey fire. So we take this very seriously. My house was damaged and 2 of my neighbors lost their homes. And so, as you know, we have a single point of egress for all residents north of Moreau, station 125. So there's one way in, one way out, especially with the Lobo fire this past weekend on Saturday. It really heightens our awareness. So I do want to express my gratitude and thanks for those members of the council that already expressed their concern and commitment to explore solutions that would work in the interest of both our community and APB baseball. And we're also, I would say, desperately working with Las Virgenes Unified School District, as they're the ones who oversee the joint use agreement. But there is some overlap because it does fall into city property ordinances, things like that. So in short, I feel strongly that our neighborhood simply does not have the infrastructure to support a baseball complex of this magnitude. That's 6 fields, that's 5 fields plus a wiffle ball field, without directly impacting the safety and welfare of the Malibu Canyon residents. So we simply cannot continue to operate in our current capacity. I think we can have some solution that, again, would benefit the both of us. We're not trying to ask to eliminate, but just, frequency of games, things like that. And really take into consideration our livelihood and the safety of our community. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Dr. Camacho. During public comment, we're not able to have a dialogue, but I will let you know that your emails have been received and there is communication ongoing at the city level. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Mr. Thomas is still not in.
Okay.
If there's any other members of the public who wish to speak, please raise your hand. And no one else has expressed interest to speak, Madam Mayor.
Okay, why don't we, Counsel, if you have another suggestion, I'm considering that we move on to continued business, which is a discussion on hybrid or in-person council meetings. And if Mr. Thomas arrives, we may, ask him to wait till the end, or if it looks like the discussion is going to continue, maybe bring him in to talk. But let's move on to item number 4. And this is a discussion and direction on hybrid in-person city council meetings, and City Manager Kindon Meik will lead this discussion.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This is an item that we've brought to you in the past. We had intentions of returning back to in-person meetings previously. With some issues that happened, we remained on Zoom. What we're looking for tonight from the council is a high-level direction on a couple matters. One, foremost, is the timing of when we want to return. We're requesting that we set a date and look at that as our start date for hybrid meetings. We'd also like some direction and perhaps a policy discussion on the participation of council members, i.e. A recommendation of that all council members should be in the council chambers for those meetings, unless there's a reason that they would be out. That could be illness, where they may feel well enough to participate in the meeting, but shouldn't be out in public to share that, where they could still participate via Zoom or phone, as was done in the past, or if they're at a conference or whatever that might be. But otherwise, the council members are in the chambers. And then we'd also request direction on commissions. Staff's recommendation is that commissions remain on Zoom for the time being while we implement the the hybrid in-person meetings. But we'd like to start with those again, 3 points, and there may be some others that come up during the discussion, but primarily when to begin, how council members will participate, and then a discussion on the commissions as well.
All right, thank you. Does anyone wish to begin with any questions or comments? Otherwise, I'll go around the circle. Councilmember Crowe.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I've done most of our meetings here from the city council chambers, or from the city council offices, I should say. And I'm in favor of us getting back together as quickly as possible. That said, I didn't anticipate us having this conversation at this moment in time. So I am actually planning to be out of town participating remotely on October 12th. I would very much like to join you all in any meeting after that. So if you guys are all in favor of getting back together, I am certainly in favor of that. As far as participation, again, if council members are available, I think it's best that we're all in person. I think the interaction works best. I would encourage a hybrid participation from the community because, one, I like to see the community out and about. I think it builds a lot more trust in our council and a lot more communication if they're there in person. But I also acknowledge that there's been a lot of access by having remote participation, and we're getting more members of the public, and more input is always better. So I would encourage the hybrid participation for the public and the in-person for the council. And again, I can start as quickly as October 26th.
Thank you. Councilmember Bazagian.
Thank you. You know, I'm flexible. I had been among those who wanted to get together in person as soon as possible, but it seems that every time we made plans to do that, there was some kind of surge, and what I don't want to do is go back and forth and back and forth. So I'm fine with starting October 26th. Doesn't really make sense to start next time if one of our numbers not going to be there for sure. I did have a couple questions of staff. Kindon, I don't know, I'll address them to you. Maybe you can bring in staff if you don't know the answer. How much does it cost? And I'm in favor of doing the hybrid for the council. How much does it cost to do a hybrid meeting? How much extra does it cost per commission meeting?
So cost for commission meetings to do hybrid, or just to remain on Zoom?
No, just how much does it cost for commissioner? What is the extra cost for hybrid per commission meeting? I mean, give me 3 costs: total hybrid, total in-person, and then total in-person, total virtual, or hybrid.
Yeah, so council member, really there is no additional cost except for staff or employee costs. And that just depends on the equipment that's being run. As of now, we don't foresee any uptick in cost. We have staff that are here and operating it through the Zoom. It would return to what we are familiar with, or what the council is familiar with, CTV. And so that would be the operation of those staff that were previously used. So again, it doesn't add any cost from what was previously done.
Well, I was told last time that there's an extra cost to do a hybrid meeting. We were all told that. So we were told that extra staff needed to be on hand. So that can't be the case. I mean, how is it? Because you need extra staff.
It is, but running it is really one extra staff, and that could be done through scheduling. So it could be, there might be extra costs with overtime, but it might be just that employee comes in later in the day too.
So there's really no realistic difference between the two.
It's minimal, yeah.
All right, well,
But I
I
guess,
I didn't understand that from before. I thought there was a much more expensive to do
Yeah.
hybrid. I'm fine with with commissions experimenting. Although I see less of a need for a hybrid commission meeting than I do for a council meeting. I think because they don't have much, they don't have as many participants, and those who do come to those meetings are generally people who have an agenda item and probably will be there. It just seems to me that we may not want to permanently go hybrid for that. But I'll leave it to, I don't feel that strongly about it. I'm willing to experiment. But for us, I think going hybrid as long as we can is fine. Thank you.
Councilmember Weintraub?
I'm in favor of going back as long as we can maintain the hybrid meetings. I think we're able to reach so many more people in this format who might not want to sit through our whole meeting. They can have it on in the background and join when they want. And I don't want to lose the active participants that we've gained over the last few years. I just think this is the trend of meetings and I don't want to go backwards. I also think that we should make commission meetings available with a hybrid model as well. Especially planning commission. Sometimes we have huge meetings, and I think the goal is over time to make our commission meetings more engaging with the public. And I think by having the hybrid model, we could accomplish that. So I'm fine waiting till Peter's back when we can all be in person. And I think just, unfortunately, we're probably going to have to pivot maybe during the winter months if there is a surge or whatnot. I just want us to all remain flexible so that we can, maintain everyone's health and still continue to run our meetings.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Shapiro?
Thank you. I think everybody said it. Number one item is health and safety of everyone. And number two, I want to go back in public, all of us together, and when we can have the public present as well as hybrid, which I certainly hear is the consensus of council. So I am in agreement with that as well. And I'm happy to wait till we have all 5 of us on October 26th, if that's correct. As far as commission meetings, I am in favor of having them go back in person. The only one initially that I would have thought would have been important to have hybrid would be planning, because of the nature of how important the items are they deal with and how much the public may want to weigh in, but yet not may be able to come. I don't know how many people are going to want to attend a hybrid event of the historic preservation, but hopefully they will. So if majority wishes hybrid for commission meetings, I'm fine with that, but I definitely would like to get them the opportunity to go back in person as well.
All right, thank you. Well, I'll join with the consensus about returning to hybrid hybrid meetings. I do believe that the exceptions for in-person should be if you're out of town or sick. I actually would like to start October 12th so that we could give this a dry run with one of our colleagues calling in. It would be, I mean, as someone who has to run the meeting, I would appreciate that opportunity, but I'll leave it up to the rest of you. And so, and then as far as the commissions go, I'd rather see how we go, or start us off and then add the planning commission. I do remember that there were additional costs, and if you're adding, a full production with 4 additional, I don't know what it is, but I think we should look at the cost of all the commissions, requiring them to be in person also, with these exceptions, to have no public, participation in person is, it seems excessive. So I would like to see us gradually bring this back, starting with the city council in person on October 12th, although if the consensus is the 26th, that's okay. And then look at adding the planning commission, looking at costs for that, and then the other meetings. So I feel a little differently. I see the city manager's hand up.
Mayor, council members, I did get a message from Michael Russo. He's not able to participate directly, but is watching. And there is an extra cost, as was reported in the previous meeting. So my apologies on that. The extra cost is having one extra staff member or body participating in that. And so that is overtime. So it depends on the length of the meeting. And so really, if it's a 3-hour meeting, it's based on that hourly cost. If it's a longer meeting or shorter, then it's as such.
And one extra city clerk personnel, correct? I mean, I remember there being more than one extra person. It was like 2 or 3. I'd like an accurate number at some point, please.
We can do that. What we'll do is, and Mari, is there an extra city clerk needed? If both you and Annalise are here?
We both participate, and like you said earlier, Kindon, Annalise likes her time, so she leaves early and then she's able to participate in the meeting. So there's really no extra cost for her or for me, of course.
But James, we will look at that and provide some costs as we implement. That helps us to look at that and then come back to the council with those costs.
All right, I see 2 other hands, Councilmember Weintraub, followed by Councilmember Crowe.
I was just going to say, with the additional information about the costs, I'd like to see that before I comment on the commissions.
Okay, Councilmember Crowe.
Yes, I would too agree that I think we can move, I would like to move forward on the council meeting hybrid regardless of cost. And then maybe we'll get the cost before we consider the commissions. But in response to the mayor's comment of October 12th, if you want to get that started as soon as possible and want somebody remote to test the connection, I'd be glad to be the guinea pig for that. I also noted on our calendar, we have a special meeting on October 19th. I don't know if that is still a meeting or not.
I think it is, so I'll have to get back to you on that one. Thank you for being gracious. Is everyone else okay with that plan to pilot it on the 12th with Peter as the guinea pig? And then we'll wait on the rest of the commissions until we get more information about the cost. Is that clear? Is that enough?
That is, Mayor. Thank you. So perhaps what we could do, we do have very few meetings. As a reminder, in November, just one meeting. December is our reorg. So if acceptable to the council, we will implement the hybrid in-person going forward. And then perhaps in January, come back with costs, and that way we can show what actual costs have been and then look at commissions at that time.
How does that sound to all of you? I won't be here. Okay. All right, that looks like it sounds good. There's no opposition to that. All right.
Thank you, council.
All right, great. This is exciting. Let's celebrate. And what we used to do, by the way, was after every council meeting in person, is we would all regroup and not talk any business, but have a dessert. And so I think that would be a great tradition to reestablish.
We'll start that on the 19th.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. All right, so we have our speaker with us. Mari, could you bring Mr. Thomas in, please? Thank you.
Yes, Madam Mayor, we'll bring him in.
And I want to remind anyone watching that we are resuming public comment where we will not be able to have a dialogue with the speaker.
Andrew, can you hear us?
My goodness.
Andrew. Apparently not, Madam Mayor.
Can you suggest he call in, please, to the phone number? And perhaps give it to him. Well, he might be able to hear us.
Andrew, do you want to call in at 1-669-900-9128 and use the code 840-5384-1386 pound? I will respond to your email that you just sent me and give you this information.
Okay. I was going to say that was fast. Let me see if there's anything else we can do here while we're waiting.
Is there anyone, is public comment completely reopened?
It wasn't closed, so if somebody,
I didn't know if anyone else wanted to speak.
Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak? Apparently not.
all right, I'm gonna go to informational reports, the check register. Are there any questions for the period from August 26th through September 16th? I'm not seeing any hands. Were there going to be any requests for any future agenda items or information items? Councilmember Weintraub.
So at our next meeting, hopefully we're discussing the county charter amendment, assuming we have speakers. So that's coming. That we did not forget that. The other item I wanted to bring up, and I actually don't really know how to bring this up, if it's a future agenda item or what, but I want to be able to communicate about the fentanyl crisis that is affecting everyone, and especially youth. Fortunately, it has not hit our community yet, but from everything that is in the media and information being sent out by the schools, it is out there. And I think it is just something that we should address. I'd love to hear from Captain C2, her thoughts, just what if in terms of communication. I've spoken to some parents and they're like, oh, I don't really know about this. I just think it's something that we have to communicate with and just be out front of. I don't know if it's a future agenda item or what it is, but I just wanted to bring it up.
I think that next meeting, we will be scheduling the sheriff's department, and we can ask for maybe even a special presentation on that for starters.
Right. And maybe we can have a community meeting to discuss this, because, you know, it's not, we need to be out there. And so I'm open to any suggestions. I just wanted to make sure that we're talking about this topic and that we do something.
And Mari, why don't we also agendize it for the Mayor's Youth Council and get a speaker there and see if there's any ideas that can come from that on how to reach children.
Right. And there's probably a lot of things that people at the Mayor's Youth Council can learn and take back to their peers, but there's so much evolving every day, new things in the media that we just should be informed.
And in fact, LAUSD put that drug to counter it.
Right. And I believe our schools, I don't want to misspeak. I don't know if I saw an email from our district or sent from someone at LAUSD. No, actually it is. I believe at the high school, at Calabasas High School, they have the Narcan as well.
Can you forward that to me?
Yeah, I have to dig.
All right, Mari, is Mr. Thomas on the line?
Madam Mayor, we do have a caller. I'm trying to verify that that's his phone number. Oh, yeah, that's him.
Okay.
So 805 will allow him to speak.
I think he needs to unmute his telephone line by *6 to unmute yourself on the phone, Mr. Thomas, *6.
Mary Sue?
Yes.
Can I just, before he comes on, I just found the email and I did not want to misspeak that Calabasas High School will keep Narcan available at school and provide training for staff to use in an emergency. So that is happening at the school, but just so we can educate more people in the community.
Can you forward that to me?
I'll send it to everyone.
Andrew, please press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself.
Well, good thing it isn't Councilmember Kraut.
Andrew, if you can hear us, please press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself.
Tony Yin, are you listening? Do you have any suggestions for us?
No, not really. Not really at this moment.
Maury,
That's-
did you move him to the panel? Because maybe you need to move him out of the panel if he's calling in like that. I don't know
Yeah,
if it'll make a
we have to move him in to allow him to speak. So,
Okay,
I mean, we can promote him to panelists, see if that works.
yeah, let's do that.
Let's try that, see if that,
Mr. Thomas, we're gonna promote you.
okay, where did he go?
I see him.
Tony, I'm trying to promote him and he's not moving. Am I doing some, promote to panelists? He's not moving to,
Let me try.
try it, please.
And Mari, you can technically have multiple people on that one line, correct? Waiting in a queue to speak?
Yeah,
I think he has to agree on his side to promote as well. Or maybe he has an older version of Zoom, then that might be the problem.
Andrew, I know you told me you could hear us when I emailed you. I'm trying to promote you, so if you see a message, please accept so we can promote you to panelist. It's not working, Madam Mayor.
Yeah.
I will try to allow him to speak again on the phone. Andrew, please press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself.
And Tony can't unmute him.
No,
And he is calling in from the outside on a personal phone into our Zoom line, correct?
that is correct, Madam Mayor.
We hear something.
I think that was our staff, if I'm not mistaken. Andrew, can you hear us? *6 on your phone, please. Apparently not, Madam Mayor.
Okay, all right. Well, we are going to be heading, oh gosh, I don't know what to do here.
You want
I
information
guess-
or task force, Madam Mayor?
What's that? What's
Do you
that?
want to hear task force reports at all?
Yeah, let's do task force reports. We're just gonna move through the agenda with him. He's off now, and Mari, hopefully if he comes back on, you can continue trying. This is unfortunate. All right, so yes, let's start with task force reports and Mayor Pro Tem Shapiro.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I attended a number of meetings, including a number for SCAG, for CHD Committee, Regional Council, a number of items, including some infrastructure and potential grants for our city, which I provided to our city manager. Hopefully those will be things we can obtain. I also attended the Valley Economic Alliance board meeting, and they are interested in hosting one of the annual meetings or the gala in our city, and certainly I'll refer that to our city manager as well. And today we had yesterday, very good, was it today or yesterday? Today, very good public safety task force meeting, since things are happening so fast. It was an excellent meeting with staff, Mike Dyer, council member Weintraub, and myself, and city manager, of course, and Debbie Larson. And there's a lot of good things and information coming forward. I'm very excited about that.
Can we get
Thank
a
you.
report, Kindon, can we get a report on that information to the whole council, please, at a future meeting?
For sure, yes.
Thank you. That'd be great. Very exciting. Councilmember Crop.
Thank you. On September 19th, I participated in the government affairs meeting with the local Chamber of Commerce here. And on the September 20th, we had a meeting of the Economic Development Task Force with Councilmember Weintraub and myself. And we look forward to giving you updates on that in the future.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Weintraub.
I attended the homeless Outreach Connect Day. I represented our city and our COG, and that was a really, really wonderful event. It was held at the old courthouse in Malibu, and it was put on by the county, and there were representatives from Terry Dipple was there, myself, Westlake, and Malibu. But what it is it connects the homeless community to more services than you can count. People who don't have an ID card, people who need help settling child support payments, someone who wanted their flu shot, somebody who needed cat food. It's everything that you could possibly think of under one roof. And it's really a remarkable event. People through the Lost Hill Sheriff Station, through Gabriel, when he's out and about, they tell people about this event. And I worked with a woman from Culver City who came, and someone who had a residence in Southgate but had been frequenting Malibu. People come from all over. They get a lot of services, a lot of help. Department of Mental Health was there. I can go on, but really such a remarkable event that all these service providers are under one roof. So it's just, I don't know, it's a great event, and I was happy to participate on behalf of our community.
Thank you for attending. Anything, Mayor Basajian? Okay. All right. Next is City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to report on a couple things. One, in response to Dr. Camacho's public comment earlier today. We did meet as staff with the city attorney this morning. We've outlined some steps that we will be taking. We do have some additional questions that we'll be researching, and both with the residents and also with the school district. And we'll be reporting back on that. But we did meet and are very aware of the situation. And one thing that we'll be implementing quickly is having Secure do increased patrol in those areas, especially during games and practices where there might be traffic violations and safety issues with hydrants or other fire access lanes that are being blocked. So we'll begin monitoring that based on these concerns. But we do have some additional questions and research to do, but we will be reporting back to you on that. Also, just want to let the council know that this Friday, we will be meeting with Captain C2 to address a number of issues, and many of these have been brought forth by through the strategic planning process, and then some other items that have come up. And so I know that our task force will be participating on that discussion, and per your request, Mayor will report back on that one as well.
Great, thank you. All right. That is it on the agenda. So we will.
Madam Mayor, before you go, Mr. Thomas called on a different line. Let me try him.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, there he goes. Andrew, please press *6 to unmute yourself. There he goes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you all. So
and my
I'm going to
apologies. I am so sorry for the technical problems, and thank you for your patience.
No, thank you. I'm going to down-regulate my blood pressure and try to address you all accordingly. If the floor is mine, I want to thank Mayor Maurer, Pro Tem Shapiro, the rest of the council and the staff and the residents of Calabasas. My name is Andrew Thomas. I am the new government relations manager for Southern California Edison. I deviate from a thought just to share. I think it's appropriate that there was some technical difficulties and frustrations that I experienced because I am calling in response to some of the frustrations I know many of the residents of your city experience. So I definitely, in this moment, have a great affinity for what experienced in days past. I would like to thank the city manager and public work director for the collaboration in my first few months in this position and for the invitation to address the city this evening. Events surrounding the replacement of 3 utility poles had a torrid effect on traffic the morning of September 16th. And I hope the city am pleased with the communication and the collaboration that came out and hopefully made this a rare anomaly rather than an issue of regularity. On Old Topanga Road, the facts point to that there were 3 utility poles that had to be replaced. In working with several cities, some seek to consolidate work so there can be one repair rather than 3 events, creating 3 unique outages. The repair was in fact a consolidation so that there was only one outage instead of three. And while there was wisdom and oversight in that aspect of the planning, a decision by our contractor for the job caused a tort result for residents, and particularly and regrettably the students of the local schools local to Old Topanga Road. An approved plan called for a two-way traffic along the main thoroughfare. But as the evening of September 15th concluded, the contractor assessing safety issues for his three crews that work in the area decided to enact one-way escorted traffic for the safety of its crew. In the morning, his decision had what we experienced as a tort effect on commuters, residents, and as I mentioned, on the school and students in the area. In a three-way meeting with the city, with me and representatives from Edison and our contractor, Rockstead Power, we had a productive meeting to isolate where the problem was identified, obviously in the area of the rerouting of traffic from two-way to one-way. And we are operating under all the stipulations and regulations that the city has imposed since that discussion. We know that communication will continue to be important, and this event has led to improved processes in the future. We are definitely in support of continue to follow the mandates that the city has put out there, and obviously managing our crews and any contract crews so they are performing according to the approved permits, and keep windows of communication open so that if things do happen for safety measures, which is understandable, they are communicated and the ideas are known to both the city and to us as Edison. So those are really the details around that. Again, I hope that the track record that Edison has had in the past has shown that this is an irregularity rather than a commonality. And our contractor or any contractor we're working with has been informed that work needs to stay to plan, that any work that would involve or is near a school, which has been communicated by the city manager, is thoroughly mapped out, and that there are adequate communication vehicles to speak to anything toward for safety reasons that might call for a change. Those are the reportings on the events of September 15th and 16th. We do, again, come in colleague with the city to make sure that we continue to provide our service in the best way possible. Again, I thank you for your patience in the initial contact on this call and in this matter that we've addressed.
Thank you. Matt, did you want to say something?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as noted, the city has received the information. Thank you, Mr. Thomas, and we'll be evaluating the matter, including partially in closed session. At this time, the council cannot comment further on it because it's not on the agenda, but the city will provide information going forward about part of its response to the situation and how best to help alleviate the concerns regarding traffic and communications and information sharing in the future. Thank you.
And Mr. Thomas, are you still on the line? Oh, yes, there you are. Okay. I wanted to.
I am still on the line. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you again for your patience this evening. It was important to hear from you, and I appreciate you persisting and helping us work through that. So thank you very much, and thank you for coming.
Well, thank you. I won't try to colorize this situation, but I will be sending to the city some information regarding Edison Scholars, a scholarship program that we have. I'd love to turn something that affected Calabasas High into an opportunity where one of their students can be one of our scholars, which is an award of $50,000. So I will get that information out to the city. We haven't had a winner from this area, and I think it's just a matter of submitting, because obviously there's some very talented persons over there. So let's turn this situation into a win for some of our young ladies and young men over at the Calabasas High. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, there we go. With that, is there, we're not going to adjourn, Matt, because we're going back into closed session, correct?
Yes, that is correct, Madam Mayor. The council will take up the continued discussion on item 1, and the remaining 3 items, no reportable action is expected. And I believe the clerk's office circulated the Zoom link again.
Okay, so let's take a 5-minute break and reconvene in 5 minutes. Thank you and good night.
Closed session. Make sure you go to the closed session link, Madam Mayor, not this one.
Can you resend it, Maury?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Oh, thanks.
Have it at the top of your email.
Great, thank you.